All right, okay, let's get started. Hey, I'm back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. If you were here earlier today, it's good to see you. My name is Ryan Selvey. I'm a motion designer, live streamer, creative here on Behance, here on YouTube with the Creative Cloud channel. We're here for Adobe Live's takeover for Offset, the week when the people at Adobe Live get to take a little bit of a vacation and breathe and have a work-life balance. And I get to come in and talk to really cool people and artists from a bunch of different industries. We get to talk through their process, their sketches, who inspires them, and all the questions that you may have for these people. I have a really good time being able to flip through my social accounts and finding people that I think are really cool and saying, hey, can I just interview you on a live broadcast for 2 hours? So we're going to be here for 2 hours today. We're going to be with Adam Reed, who's an extremely talented cartoonist. I'm really excited to talk to him and show you guys all of his work. I see so many cool people in the chat, so thank you for being here and saying hello. If you're over on YouTube, like Como is, make sure you hop on over to Behance, where you can go to behance.net/Adobe Live, where you can see the rest of the chat and you can join all of us. We have Voodoo Val, who's moderating for us. Thank you very much, Voodoo Val. Very talented designer. Make sure you check out her work on Behance as well. On Behance, she's just behance.net/Voodoo Val. If you're a big Star Wars fan, she's a big Star Wars fan, so maybe you guys can bond over that. She has some pretty cool Star Wars stuff as well. And then she also streams on her own, so make sure you check out her live streams. That said, hello to everybody else. We have Oliver and Abdallah and Afroja, Gareth. We have Rick from HP Tech Marketing. Good to see you, Rick. Thank you for being here. And anybody else like Katarina and Arshad, as you guys come into the chat, please say hello. Don't be shy. At the same time, if you are shy, that's totally fine. Work and lurk. Let us be your background. If something comes up and you have questions, it is a live stream after all. We are here for you. So please, by all means, throw it in the chat. Ask your questions. No such thing as a dumb question as long as it's not offensive. And we will do our best to address it and make sure that you can get some insider information from Adam, because he's a very skilled and talented cartoonist that has a wonderful background. I'll let him also introduce himself in just a second here, but it is great to have him on, and I'm excited for you guys to meet him. That said, if you're watching the replay, it's great to see you. Sorry you're not here in live time, but if you want to catch tomorrow's stream, we will be back again at 9:30 Pacific and 12 Pacific with 2 more artists, and we have a lot planned for you. So without further ado, I would love to bring in Adam, so please give him a warm welcome and make him feel welcome to the Adobe Live community. And here he is. Hey, Adam, how's it going?
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful to have you. Like I said, a big fan of your work. I really like the cartoons. I'm a big cartoon guy. I always have felt like I've been the one in the room that's still talking about cartoons, and they're like, "Aren't you 30?" I'm like, "Yeah." Still think they're just as cool as they were back when I was 10. So I feel like we can relate on that probably.
Yeah, definitely.
But I want to let you kind of have the space to also introduce yourself. So without any further ado, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself and talk a little bit what you're about?
Yeah. So my name's Adam Reed. I do character and prop design for animation. I've done some work for Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, a little bit for Disney TV. I also just recently got into product design, so I now do product design at Disney, designing like different toys and like Happy Meal stuff and things like that, which has been really fun. But yeah, so I got my, I don't know if you want me to go in like history of me or anything. But,
yeah, no, by all means, go for it.
Okay, cool. So I went to the University of St. Francis, which is a really tiny school in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Went to CTN out in Burbank. Met someone from Disney TV who gave me an internship at Disney. So I interned on Big City Greens. I got to shadow a bunch of different cool crews, meet some cool people. Then after that, I jumped over to Cartoon Network and worked on the Fungies as a character designer. Did a lot of work on there, which is really fun. Did some prop design for that show too. Amazing crew, amazing people. Then from there, I just did a bunch of freelance for a bunch of different shows like SpongeBob, Patrick Starr's show, We Baby Bears, some other ones too in there.
Yeah, because we have the baby obsession that we had like 5 years ago that we made it over the hump after Baby Yoda. And I was just like, oh my God, everything we are bringing. I think they brought back Looney Tunes babies even. I was like, all right, we are back in 1995. Here we are.
I think there's even this new one coming out called what's it called? It's Bugs Bunny Builders, which is them as like babies, but they build. So it's like Bob the Builder mixed with Bugs Bunny.
You almost said Bob's Burgers there. I almost said the same thing. Honestly, it went through my head.
There's just so many Bobs, you know.
My boyfriend and I actually recently just went and we saw the Bob's Burgers movie in a theater where they could actually serve us cheeseburgers while we watched, which was really fun.
That's the perfect environment. That's perfect.
And it was good. The cheeseburger was okay. It wasn't a cheeseburger joint. Like, it was a movie theater at the end of the day, so the cheeseburger was all right.
Right.
But movie was great. I liked the movie.
But one fact I heard that was kind of blew my mind was like that's the first because Disney owns like Fox now, so that technically is like the first hand-drawn animated movie by Disney since like Princess and the Frog. Oh no, what's it called? Winnie the Pooh, which is like 2011 or something.
No way. Yeah, that's so weird. Just because, with acquisitions and everything, it's confusing to remember who owns what, especially when they have the Fox, Searchlight or studios at the beginning of the movie. But you've had your hand in a lot of different studios, it seems like, and you seem like you've been pretty flexible, jumping around between places. How was it working on the Fungies and working with character design? Because that was like your first like big TV show, right?
That was like my big break.
Right.
But it was amazing. The crew on that show was like perfect. I feel like I got super spoiled because it was like, oh, like these are the best people. Like I'm never gonna get a better crew than this. But Stephen Neary was the creator, who's also from Indiana, which is kind of fun.
Oh, that's cool.
He's the creator of the show. He also show ran Clarence for a little while. And then I met Valerio Fabretti, who was a character designer on Clarence as well. And then he's the one that kind of like championed me to get the character design position. And I was a character designer with Jess Marfisi, who we're probably going to be talking about a little bit today with some of like my design inspirations and stuff, because her work is incredible. And the crew was amazing. And it was a really fun, really sweet and charming kind of show. Kind of felt like I think Steven's whole thing was he wanted it to be like an 80s cartoon that like never came out, and then like now it's just now getting like released.
Right.
So it has like the Fungies, which is kind of like the Smurfs or like the Snorks or that whole type of vibe. Which it was a really, really fun experience and learned a lot because, like I said, it was my first industry job, so I got to grow and learn, and had some really nice, people on the crew kind of help me out, which was great.
Yeah, and branch out and just kind of get a knack for the industry. I think that's actually a really good transition for us, though, to touch on our first segment, which is just checking out your work. I have your website pulled up, which will also throw the link in the chat for you guys. But let's take a look. Let's look at your work. So first and foremost, because we were just actually talking about it, we have your character design, and we have this cute little terrifying worm dude. Because it looks nice and approachable, like the little worm guys that you would get at the beach stores, that like make you kind of like go around your fingers.
Definitely,
But then you look down here with the volleyball and the terrifying snake that it turns into, and it has a very different feeling. So do you just want to kind of talk through your process and talk to your work a bit?
Yeah, so with doing character design, we were a board-driven show, which means that like what does it mean? How do I explain it? Um, Basically, the board artists are before the character designers in the pipeline, so then we get to look at some of their boards as reference and stuff. So a lot of those poses, I'll credit the board artists who did amazing drawings to start off with, which is really nice because you don't have to just look at that blank page and create something from nothing. But for those shots, like the one where it's a little more like a violent looking face, is kind of like those scenes in SpongeBob where it's like a close up and it looks
the still lifes.
Yeah. It's supposed to kind of break the cute immersion because the show is super cute and chubby and squishy.
It's so curvy. Everything about it is so curvy and bubbly. I really love the feeling of it. It gives reminiscence of kind of like Steven Universe, obviously. And also the Centaur show that came out on Netflix not too long ago.
Man, I don't remember the name. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. Yeah.
But a similar style in the way that I'm like, oh man, I just love how everything feels like I could squish it. Like those old little squish things that you would go and the eyes would bob out, when you squeezed it.
I would have loved if we got something like that for this. But actually, I'll credit Photoshop a lot for the design of this because it's just a lot of circles. And the ellipse tool was very, very much in use all the time. Because with these designs, they're so simple that sometimes you look at it and you're like, oh, that'd be easy, super easy to draw because it's just a bunch of circles and stuff. Which, I mean, it is. But also, it
adds complexity with its simplicity.
Right, exactly. So I think a big thing with a really simple design is you can't hide the flaws as well, So it's a circle and then some other circles and then the little mushroom cap we have on them, and if you mess up just one of those little caps, then it just kind of, there it is, Centaur World.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clever. Appreciate it.
I mean, if you just mess up something small, it's super glaring. So it was kind of a fine line to do sometimes, but it was a super fun show to design on.
Now, did you feel like that was a frustration that then by the end of it you felt like you grew as an artist, or was it a frustration where you're just like, I'm never going to do anything as simple with circles ever again?
No, I mean, well, now I draw Mickey Mouse all the time for work, so it's it's nothing but circles. So I didn't learn my lesson, I guess. But
nothing but circles.
yeah. But
oh gosh, terrifying.
I do think I grew a lot from just beginning to the end of the show.
Right.
Just because one, like I said, is my first industry job, so there's a lot I didn't even know, and then learning a big thing on the show was hands. They want hands to look good. Steven is amazing at drawing just weird hand shapes and stuff.
Okay.
And I was horrible at drawing hands when I started. I still
aren't we all though?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I still try to hide hands when I can, but I just little things like that I feel I learned so much from that group.
It is interesting that the show chose to do 5 fingers though.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a little jarring to at the first glance, and then you're like, oh wait, no, I have 5 fingers.
Right. Yeah.
It
just looks so weird because we're so conditioned to see the 4-finger characters.
4 fingers, and even as of late, almost 3 fingers. Which you've seen a handful of times now.
Yeah,
but so for these, you have some turnarounds. You were kind of just prompted, and you said it was board first. So did they kind of just come and say, all right, we have a crab of an area, and then we kind of want to expand it to have it fit the scene, and so then you kind of go through and create several versions of crabs.
Right.
How did that process work?
So a lot of times we actually had this really amazing artist named Nick Edwards on our crew who did a lot of the previs work for each episode, and he would usually kind of come up with some rough designs for different crabs. For some of those crabs, they're in a crab gang, and he designed a whole crew, and then so we would kind of go in and tighten up some of the designs a little, even though a lot of times we didn't really need to because his work was so crisp. But we would kind of put it on model a little bit more and make sure it looks a little more cohesive to the established style of the show.
Right.
So yeah, so usually, and sometimes we would get to kind of like just make up our own look to it. Like the one like underneath the little mosquito guy next to the crab with the hat. Just like yeah, that guy right there. Yeah. Like a lot of those are just kind of like a really rough, like, oh, it's a fungi in the background, so you can kind of play around a little bit. And like with the old people down there too, I got to do some like.
I'm a little terrified once again with the lack of pupils.
Yeah,
just the full-on bug-eyed, just.
That was definitely one of those like we're gonna zoom in real quick moments. But yeah, so we got to play a little bit with like designs and stuff for sure, just from like the character design standpoint. But on a board-driven show, it's kind of like a lot of the things are like a little like figured out. Sometimes like the time gets the character designer, and then you kind of go in and like. I mean, and also I'm sure it's different for every show. But for us, it was kind of like a lot of the designs were roughed out, and then we got to go in and like crisp them up, make sure they're on model, tighten everything.
And this was all pre-pandemic, so this was all like you were like in a studio, right?
Yeah. So actually, we were on the show, and then we got a hiatus, and we went to we had like a nice little break. So I went to New York, and like got to like visit and like walk around and stuff, and then. That was February 2019.
Oh yes,
yeah, so not February 2020. I mean February 2020.
February 2020. So that was right when it was getting a little goofy.
So then we come back from hiatus, and then we're in the studio, and they sit us all down. We were there for like 2 more days.
Yeah.
Jess and I were like got back from our break, and they were like, "Oh, so we're probably gonna send you home for like 2 weeks," and then.
That's all it was. It was always just 2 weeks.
And then we never went back to the studio again. So, but yeah, this was my last time like working in a studio and not from home. So I think
that's crazy. I mean, it's great though that you got that experience before, like as your kind of like your entrance into everything, and then then you can have an adaptation of it, but you have the concept of what it was like to be all together all once Monday through Friday. Which is pretty cool.
I mean, that's also a big thing right now with the industries too, is like it's hard to kind of feel like you're a part of like a team when you like just know everyone through like a screen, and you just kind of like get to look at their faces, and that's about it.
Right. No, that makes sense. But I'm also like curious as to what collaboration looks like in the idea of like passing files between one another, because obviously you can't really look over each other's shoulders or anything. And have you felt that you've been able to adapt properly to a point where like you now feel comfortable working from home?
I think so. I think now it's almost been I've been like my time in studio and out of studio and industry has been like equal.
Oh God, time is so weird.
I know, right? So I think the big thing is just like you do miss some of that, like because I like working from home for the most part. It's nice. You get to like roll out of bed and then walk over to like the studio. Living room. But I think I do miss like the collaboration and like having like that instant like feedback, because you can just walk over and be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. Like put it in front of them. And now it's like you send it and it might get like lost in like a giant thing of emails. So these ones are from Middlemost Post, which is a super fun show. I got to do some freelance and stuff for.
They have closer vibes to like maybe like Gravity Falls or what else? Oh, this is almost like Rocko's Modern Life kind of.
Yeah. So these were when the show was getting like in development and like getting announced and stuff. They wanted some help coming up with like the look and feel for the different neighborhoods in the show. Mm-hmm. So in the show, there's like different like neighborhoods that are like different elements, and each has like their own different personality. So there's like a green neighborhood that's kind of like the more like chill hippie kind of vibe. The blue neighborhood's like the ritzy like country club. Right. But for these, they just wanted some help. Like, what do some of these characters maybe look like in this world, and like what's the vibe in each land? And which was really, really fun, and it was cool because they used basically just some of the designs I came up with, like the ones in the show, which was really cool to see when it came out. It's like, oh, that's my little guy.
It's alive. It
yeah,
actually
exactly.
exists.
yeah. So yeah, these are just some of those for that, which I had a really good time with. And this one was, I felt like they were getting really close to Osmosis Jones. Remember that?
Yes, I could see some
Yeah.
Osmosis Jones in here,
Yeah.
which is tough because that's just such an iconic watery, liquidy feel of a character design. So it's effective, but I could see it.
Right, yeah. It was fun. It's a really cute show too, and John Trebek is the creator of that, and it's a really cool show. I really like it.
So, and then naturally, this guy, this up and coming show.
Oh yeah, it's real indie underground kind of thing. And then here's just some turnarounds and stuff for him.
So that's wonderful. And then, so I know that you recently, you just made a move, and you switched over, I know, to some toy design, as you were saying. How do you feel like this work has prepped you in a way to kind of pivot? What have you found similar? What have you found different in the two different industries that kind of still fruit from the same imagination, but different end product?
So a big thing, because I just saw the application like on I think like LinkedIn or something. I was like, oh, I've always loved toys, like, and I think I've always felt like it'd be really cool to just hold the thing that you made, and be like, oh, like I built this, like this is, which was really cool to make something like tangible out of nothing. I'm just drawing, I guess. And then
that's a jar full of teeth.
Yeah. Which is fun to draw for sure.
Absolutely.
But no, I think when I applied for it, it was like a shot in the dark. I didn't really think it was going to be something I would maybe get because I had no background in it. But then through the interviewing process, they were like, no, we were looking for someone with like an animation background because they wanted someone who like knows how to draw a character like on model and make sure like they wanted like an artist's eye on like these designs and stuff. And so that was something I didn't really think about when I was applying for it. And a big thing, I mean, in character design is making sure you can draw things from every angle and drawing turnarounds and things like that. So I think when I'm designing a toy now, I have to think of it as like, what's it going to look like from the back, from the front, from like a weird angle that I never had to do was from the top. So I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But I think there was a lot more crossover than I thought, where it was just making sure you can, like I said, draw these characters in the right style. And then it's also been fun because I've been able to like think about these designs in a different way rather than like, how's it work for animation versus how does this move if you can hold it? Like, how can you, how can you, like, if you were going to bend its leg in a certain way, like, how would you bend it before it broke? Or how would, like, a kid handle this thing? Which has been really, really fun. Also, I get to draw, I love old Disney animation and stuff, and, like, Mickey Mouse and all that. So it's been fun to just get to draw those characters all day and then put them in, like, a new light when it comes to, like, different type of products and stuff. So it's been really cool so far.
Absolutely. And also, as a prop designer at any given point, I feel like there is that crossover of the idea of something existing in a cartoon world, but also existing now in the real world as a prop itself.
Yeah.
To us normal humans, I think that there probably has to be some sort of crossover there as well. To your point of not being able to draw hands, I think that I think this looks great. I mean, I think these are great, and I think this is a really nice collection of your professional work. I know you also on here you also have your personal work. Do you want to talk a little bit about this project?
Yeah. So this is actually something I was doing like in college, and I've never really like I have like a bunch of notebooks full of like storylines and all that kind of stuff. But I've never like really dove into it, which is something I want to do. But it was basically just a like a fun telling of like Johnny Appleseed as like a kid. where I think the storyline would be like him meeting a different folk hero each episode or something like that as he like travels to plant seeds.
Mhm.
But where I went to college in Fort Wayne is the resting place of Johnny Appleseed, who is actually like a real person.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's cool to also have that tied back to your roots in your way.
Yeah, definitely. But
But
they
I
have
love
like
his eyes here, his angry eyes. I feel like you don't see that much of with closed eyelids and like a shiny red eye. It's a cool solution for anger.
oh, thanks, man. Yeah, thank you. I think it's been also kind of fun. I've never really done work with color, but when I get to do like my personal thing, I like to kind of dive in and start playing with color a little bit, which is not something I get to do too often. I'm definitely
Right.
not great at it, but it's something that's it's neat.
It's a skill set. I mean, I think that your colors look great.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's just one of those things where, yeah, no, I mean, it takes a village to make these shows, and it makes sense to have someone with coloring and building out.
That's a big part, I think, about working in animation that I think is really neat. Is like it's a collaborative thing. Like you're all working together to make like the best possible thing,
Yeah.
like, the best possible show, and like I think it's cool how it's such a collaborative effort and like learning to like take you know critique and stuff and then applying it and then
And still being able
that-
to make something that you care about, not just taking critique
Exactly.
and begrudgingly creating something that you're like, fine, I'll just do what you say, but taking
Right.
it and being able to adapt properly.
Well, I think a big thing with that is like when you take it, you're like, oh, it's not personal. Like we're just trying to make the best possible thing, and like
Yeah.
I think that's something that like was like a big learning thing when you get into animation. It's like, oh yeah, it's like we're a team, and I think that's really neat.
And I also think it's a muscle. I think it's something that, as a beginner artist, for those watching, maybe if you're in high school or something, like it's okay to, at first kind of really take criticism as something personal, but being able to then like take that and be like, no, it's not personal, and just like training that muscle to be able to like look past that and, get to that final product, as you were saying. In the chat, we actually have Emily, who said that she's also a cartoonist. She's from New Hampshire, and she says hello. And then also do hello to Annika. Hi, welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here.
I think I'm also weird because like I love notes because it gives you direction. And so like when I get a note, I'm like, oh cool, so that's what you want, and now I can do that. I get like sometimes it's like, oh, I'm just making something from nothing, and then when you get that note, you're like, oh, that's what I want. Okay, I can give you that. Like
so now I have direction kind of to take it in the right place.
Yeah.
I just want to look at one more of the ones that you have under your personal work, and it's this really cute nautical one. What's this for?
This is just for fun. A lot of the stuff I do and like when I draw like personal stuff is just like to doodle. Like I had just seen The Lighthouse. Have you seen that movie? Yeah, and I was like, oh, I want to draw some nautical stuff. So I just drew like a bunch of little like fishermen and lighthouse stuff and some octopus tentacles and when I'm drawing all this stuff, I usually have like a little storyline going on in my head, but I never like, do anything with it. It's just kind of to like doodle like something I'm into at the time, which this time was like the sea and sailor stuff. But yeah,
they all have so much character, but they also all still feel very cohesive. I love the squishiness of the tentacles, very gross, but I feel like they could like suction onto anything. And then I also really love this scary I know what you did last summer fisherman in the bottom right with a missing eye and a peg leg. It seems like you really kind of started with someone with like a missing hand, and everyone kind of has their own deformities.
Yeah,
I
tried to make everyone equally messed up, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Voodoo Val says it reminds me of Flapjack, which is a great compliment.
I love Flapjack, which is always great. Like I always want to draw like sailor stuff, and then I'm like, maybe I should just draw Flapjack. Like I just love Flapjack anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, there's something to that. I feel like it's different enough that it doesn't, like, if you were to just throw those characters straight into Flapjack, I'd be like, those feel out of place, like it doesn't feel like it's a direct, like a stylist. you know, it's apples to oranges, but at least they're both fruit. So
yeah, but no, I love Flapjack. That was like one of my big inspirations growing up, for sure.
But yeah, no, and so we take a look at some of your more polished works. But something that I always really like to do on the show is kind of pull back the curtain and show people that, yeah, we're all artists and we all have process. And I would really love to kind of take a look at that. And so maybe we could do a quick look at your sketchbook or your sketches per se.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I thought maybe I could I have a couple sketches I'm working on right now that maybe we could watch me work along through those.
Yeah, I love that.
Cool.
All right,
okay.
so let's check it out.
Ooh, let's see your sketchbook.
Cool. So right now, like I was saying, I get into weird moods where I'm just into one thing, and right now it's cowboys. So
into the westerns, you move out east and you miss out west.
I know exactly. So I've been just kind of doodling these a little bit and playing around with that. So my sketches are usually lots of they're not super sketchy, but they're still pretty rough. So I usually his leg looks a little weird, so I'll probably
And so for the people that are watching, you're obviously using a stylus of sorts. Are you working on a Cintiq? Are you working on an Intuos?
Cintiq. Yeah.
A Cintiq? Okay, cool. And you feel like you're mostly working on a desktop computer for when you're doing most of your stuff?
Yeah, so it's funny because I wanted to share a sketchbook, but then I was I don't really I can show you what I was. This is kind of when I do a sketchbook, I mostly just draw on my Cintiq. And have little rough things. So this was I get I like lined paper when I draw and stuff, loose leaf paper. So this was just I was coming up with some ideas.
And just having that traditional feel, even just psychologically, even if it's not actually on lined paper.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've never been a big sketchbook guy, even though I know that sketchbooks are super useful and valuable, and I always feel intimidated by a sketchbook a little bit.
Yeah, those first few pages especially.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of things I like to mostly draw on like I said, loose leaf paper, napkins and things like that, because it's such a throwaway thing that doesn't really matter if it looks good or not, which is how your sketchbook should be. But
but there's a lot of pressure to it.
Yeah. So this is usually what I'll end up doing if I just want to rough out a couple ideas and sketches and stuff.
Now, here's a question for you. It's a two-part question. One, do you have a favorite Disney character? And two, is that the same character as your favorite character to draw?
Ooh. Okay. My favorite Disney character is, besides Mickey, because I love Mickey. Especially the new Mickey Mickey Mouse shorts on Disney.
Oh, they're wonderful. I love them.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. Yeah, those are my favorite.
They're wild. The House of Tomorrow episode in itself, I was like, what is this? How did this get written off? This, what? This is unlike anything they've ever produced.
There's also so many little Easter eggs from the parks and stuff.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, that's not, I have a Disney family, so
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I love those, but my favorite character is probably Mr. Toad.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Oh yeah. So I just the short itself is fine. It's okay, but the ride is insane.
The ride where you literally die and go to hell. You're like, okay, all right. We had a different approach to kids' rides in the 60s, but sure.
I love it because it's I don't know. The moral of the story is there is you escape. I think he goes to prison in the ride and he escapes and then gets hit by a train and dies.
Yep, and then the ride's over. There's no happy.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
You just go up. You're like, okay, I guess we'll get a funnel cake. I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Which one of the things I did most recently was I can pull it up. It's because I love Mr. Toad so much. I did a little fan art
Oh, did you? Can we see it? Is it possible? Do you have it
There we go.
accessible? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So this is on your Instagram, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, great. And I'll be sure I'm going to get your Instagram in the chat for everybody if you guys want to go and give Adam a follow. We also have it on the bottom here too. It's a Reed cartoonist, right?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to take some of these like characters and put them in my style a little bit,
Mhm.
which is always fun to do. My favorite to draw though, it's probably Mickey because he's a little easier.
Yeah.
And he's somebody I can just like sit down and just like, all right, I'll like draw a quick little Mickey. My favorite character to draw though is Garfield because I love Garfield.
Is this what?
It's probably Garfield is my favorite character.
No way. You're a Garfield guy?
Oh yeah.
Is it go-to? That's amazing.
And, yeah, that's like the most recent drawing I did was just the Garfield and John. Another Indiana reference is because he's from the creators from Muncie, Indiana.
Really? Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that there was such a thriving cartoon market in the Midwest of America.
I think there's nothing else to do
except draw cartoons.
except draw cartoons all that. But it's funny growing up. Like, there's so much Garfield stuff like all over Indiana. Like, he's on billboards, and we have a stadium where the Indiana Pacers used to play, and now it has a giant Garfield statue in front.
Uh-huh.
And growing up, I was like, oh, Garfield's just an Indiana thing. And then the movie with like Bill Murray came out, and I was like, oh,
It's a
everyone knows
worldwide
about
thing.
Garfield.
Everyone knows Garfield.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a meme at this point, as much as
Yeah.
Garfield,
Definitely.
for better and for worse.
Yeah.
Also, I really like these guys of yours, the Heat Miser and the Snow Miser.
Oh yeah, I love them. Yeah.
Those guys, they're a classic for me to watch every single year, and it's cool to see them adapted in your style, but also adapted into a 2D approach. I would totally watch a 2D version. I love claymation. I never want to get rid of that, but
Oh, yeah.
it would also be cool to see them reimagined. And I was recently reading an article, I think it was in Variety, and it was talking about how the new approach to animation is now we have gone past the apex of like hyper realism, and we have movies coming out like The Bad Guys and The Spider-Verse, and there's like one other one that they mentioned that they're like taking it back again to 2D animation, even if it's 3D, even if it's something else, and like, you know, boosting proportions and kind of reevaluating what it's like to animate something, which is
that's
cool
one
to
thing
see.
with animations. Like I love like a stylized 3D because it's like
Mhm.
you have animation where you can create anything and do anything with it. And so sometimes it's obviously it's super impressive when you see like a hyper realistic like shot like that's done through animation. Like that takes so much work and so much talent. But sometimes I'm like, like you could film it, like just film it. And then like, you know, like I want to see like push like when people can push the medium.
Yeah, you want to see that creativity. You want to see
Yeah.
that brand, not even brand, like self-brand approach to the idea where you have these iconic characters, even like the Disney characters that you had just pulled up. Yes, they still feel like they exist in the same ecosystem, but they also feel like you drew them in a way that it, you know, you add your own flair to it, which is nice.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite versions of someone taking 3D and besides Spider-Verse, the Spider-Verse is incredible. Was Disney did that short Feast? Have you seen that one with like the
was it with the dog?
Yeah, the little like Boston Terrier dog.
Very cute. That's a great short. And oh, I mean, you even have a little Casper here as well.
Oh man.
You have your your Count Chocula, which is a favorite of mine that I still eat during Halloween, and it's not even breakfast, but that's okay. It's just a bowl of sugar. So yeah, I really like how you reimagine some of these iconic characters so much. It's fun.
Oh man, thanks. No, I think for me, like I just when I draw, I just want to have fun with it. And so if I can just draw things that I like to draw when I have the time to draw.
Right.
So like I love mascots. Like mascots are my favorite. So like anytime I can draw, like have time to draw these kind of characters, and it's like Halloween time, it's like I would love to draw Count Chocula.
Yeah, I took a character design course in college, and one of the assignments was we had to like pick between like 4 or 5 retired mascots and try to bring them back to relevancy with like an update. And there was the Noid from Domino's. There
Oh,
was
dude, yeah.
the Cheesy Rex from like Macaroni and Cheese with the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Trying to think, there was like 3 or 4 that we could pick from. And it was really interesting to see how much those things change as you also the styles and everything change.
Definitely.
But going back to your the sketches that you had up with the blue, do you normally go in with blue sketches and then kind of come back and revisit with some line work, or
Yeah. So usually I'll play with sometimes I'll like put like 4 or 5 different colors in. Like
okay,
I'm like really going through like if I'm gonna go and draw this guy, I'm like, okay, well, I want to make sure he has like a plaid on his shirt because like if my drawings are like gonna be really rough, I like
Yeah.
to be able to like distinguish between the two of them. So and like I was thinking for this, he'll probably have like one of those like Lone Ranger type of things going on. So probably fill that in and then go like I don't know. And then I don't want his eye to get lost in there while I figure out like what color I'm gonna use. And right now he looks evil, but
yeah,
yeah, just look like
that sunken eye look, like almost like he's looking at something he's not supposed to.
no, exactly like this guy right here.
I can just see probably when he would talk, his mustache would move up and down, right?
Oh yeah,
That would
definitely.
be kind of like his signifier.
If I like just remove the mouth, because I love those like old Western cartoons where like or just cartoon characters that don't have a mouth and just the mustache moves, like you're saying.
Yeah, those are always fun.
But yeah, I think I normally put like just a bunch of different colors in while I'm working. Like this is probably a good example of it. Where like I usually go with like the 3 primary colors first.
Okay.
And then if I'm like really, it's usually if I'm struggling, I'll put a lot of different colors in.
Yeah.
Like right here, like I already don't like what's happening right there because like this leg doesn't really make sense because it's shorter than this one, but it's closer to like.
But you work with all these different colors, but you still work all on the same layer.
Yeah. I probably should use layers a little bit more, and I know how important they are, but
You're a single layer purist.
Yeah, because like I said, I kind of just like usually when I get to like cleaning up the characters,
Okay.
I'll get in and use like more layers and stuff. But like when I'm sketching, like it's just like I kind of use it as like a sketchbook. So like if I make a weird mistake, it doesn't really matter until I'm cleaning up, and then I get mad that I didn't use more layers because I'm like,
I was gonna say because you're so precious about not wanting to use an actual physical sketchbook because of the commitment that it has.
yeah,
But then you bring in a digital and you essentially recreate the same thing. It just happens to be a file, not a piece of paper.
Yeah, I think it's because the edit undo is there, and I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm a sucker for the undo. I work in the way that I definitely have commitment issues, and I have 1,000 layers that I then kind of like merge down to one, but then I'll also switch back.
Yeah.
But I can see the benefit of both because also there's something to be said about having to work with the same layer and then you erase and you kind of like erase all together,
right.
which is cool. But but yeah, what brushes are you using? Do you just normally use like a regular rounded brush with pen pressure? Do you like to switch it up, or do you kind of stick to one?
I have like all these different brushes I've gotten from different artists and like different shows and stuff. Drew Green has some really, really cool brushes that he's made. Usually I stick with the bold pen or rough pen pressure because I kind of like the whole like. Also, I work on really, really giant layers, but like I like just kind of the roughness of it, I guess. I don't know. I think it also it hides some of the mistakes a little bit more. Like when there's like you're like, oh, like it just has these little lumps. So like if my hand is completely steady at that moment,
Right.
it doesn't look like.
Do you feel like you have steady hands for the most part?
For the most part, yeah. I
Yeah,
think so.
I do not. I drink too much coffee.
Yeah. I can always tell. I can always tell when like I've had too much because I'm like, I'm not doing like, I just feel like antsy when I'm drawing. I'm like, I should probably not get the double shot espresso today.
Rein it back a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Now, do you generally just stick to like traditional drawing without many tools? Do you use symmetry tools or anything when you're drawing, or do you kind of just like to pretend like it's a piece of paper?
So for the most part, I like to pretend like it's a piece of paper. But every once in a while, like if let's say like I draw, because I hate drawing hands. If I really like this arm and this hand, and like he's kind of doing the same thing over here, so like sometimes I'll just like I should be using shortcuts. I don't know why I'm not using shortcuts. I'll like get rid of this arm, and then
just flip it.
Yeah, which embarrassingly I didn't really know I could do for a long time.
Get out! No way.
Yeah, like no. This is the big one. I didn't know I could. Oh wait, no, I messed up. See, I'm very new to it. I didn't know I could copy and then paste the same arm and then flip it. So
I'm gonna press it. I'm surprised by that one, but I'm gonna press it.
What? I didn't know that was there.
My really bad one was it took me until I was a sophomore or junior in college, which means I had been using Photoshop since like 6th or 7th grade. And it took me until I was a sophomore or junior in college to be in a class where the teacher was like, yeah, when you're using the wand tool, you can click sample all layers. And I had been like going through all my layers and holding down shift and being like, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up.
Yeah, no, that's me 100%.
And so it's always funny to kind of find those things. But I mean, yeah, use the tools to your advantage to get to, you know, the thing that's in your head on the piece of paper, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any shame in that.
Thanks.
Voodoo Val wants to know if you use any tools like the overlay to make the screen feel like paper.
Oh, I have done that a couple times. Yeah, that's something that like, especially if I'm doing like what I was saying, where I use the like the lined paper, and then like draw on top of that. A lot of times I will do like really make it feel like paper. Which like I still do draw on paper. Like it's not just on the Cintiq, but overall like I'm sitting here more than I am like going places, you know.
Yeah.
I think my version of like my sketchbook, besides napkins and like loose leaf paper, is like I do have like a little like I carry on like, oh, that's a password on, so I should probably take that part off. I used to carry on like one of these all the time, like one of these like.
Oh, like the little manila, like old yellow. Those are great. It's like remind me of my grandma's house, but they always feel good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, but usually I'll like, if I'm trying to think of like, oh, what do I like, if I get an idea for something or if I want to draw something later, if I'm like walking around like a park or something, I'm like, oh, like I saw that raccoon and raccoons are cool. Maybe I should draw a bunch of raccoons later. So I'll just like draw like a little picture of a raccoon next to like the word draw raccoons. Like, just something like that.
No, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
And then when I get back, I'll just sit and draw raccoons for like 4 hours.
But, Greg is also mentioning that he just started to use control clicking to access objects below other objects in InDesign. That was a big game changer for me too, with being able, I use that actually in Photoshop, where you can go and you can control click onto things to access a layer that doesn't have auto select on. I have friends that went into preferences and change it so that you click anything and it'll switch between layers, but that's too chaotic for me. I can't do that much.
Like it's like, I mean, if you've been watching me, just like I don't really use shortcuts as much as I know I should. I just like end up clicking because I think it gives me like a moment to like step away from it, you know, where I'm like, if I'm using shortcuts, I'm just looking at that thing and I'll get like caught up in like a little detail. And if I like go over here, and then click on something, and then come back, and like it gave me like that 2 second break from it. Where I'm like, not even 2 seconds, like a millisecond break from it, but then I can see something with like a different set of eyes, I guess.
Well, yeah, but I also kind of realized that about with a lot of the work that you have sketches on. You seem to really kind of like hop around the page and hop between subjects and characters and come back and revisit them. Like, you know, you have that cowboy in the bottom right that doesn't have any arms, but then, you know, you then have like, you know, like the snake without eyes or something. And it seems like you kind of like find what excites you at any given moment and hops around, which is cool to see.
Definitely. Yeah. I think one thing I like to do, especially like when I'm just like drawing things for fun, is I like to make like a page full of different like props and different like little tiny things. So if I do get kind of tired of looking at something, then I can go and switch over to something else. And then I do think a big thing is, so you don't feel like burnt out on something. If something's just not working, you can go over and look at something different, and then you're like, oh, okay, like it gives you that separation from it for a second, which I think is really big, especially if you're like pulling an all-nighter and like working on one thing over and over again. If you can like take a break from it for a second, still be productive working on something else, and then come back to it, I think that was super helpful for me in like college and stuff.
Do you find that you find most of your inspiration in the morning, in the middle of the workday, or late at night?
Like super late at night. Like that's like when like I think I get distracted during the day a little bit, because I'm like, oh, I can like, it's so nice. I can go outside and play basketball, or I could go like hang out with my friends like a coffee shop or something. And then like at night, I'm like, it's just me and the computer
and the screen,
and I'm like, there's no distractions, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, I'm a big like watch a video while I work guy.
Right.
And then at night, no one's putting out new videos, so you're like,
you can catch up. Also, you can kind of just like have it off at the side and be like, okay,
yeah, definitely.
While everyone else is sleeping. I'm very, very similar in the same way of distractions late at night. You know, watching videos while I work, same sort of thing. And I don't know why. I literally have always been that way.
Me too.
Like even in high school, I would stay up so stupid late and then, you know, get a few hours of sleep and go to school the next day. Yeah. Don't ask me why.
No, I did the exact same thing. We used to kind of like have a couch set up in the animation lab in college that was just like, because everyone's pulling all-nighters like any day of the week, and it was like okay, like this is the couch. Like you would like make like a little list, and you're like, all right, I get the couch this night, you get it this night. But yeah,
one of my good friends, Hayden, that went to school with me, was an animation major, and he is one of the only animation majors I know, though, because we would just say, oh, the animators are going off to the animator cave, and they would just go. It was essentially during finals. It was like, all right, Hayden, I'll see you after it's done. And those of you in the chat, you guys would also know that Hayden also does some live streamings as well, but that's who I'm talking about, and he's a big animator. He was working for what's it name? Bento Box, the guys that do Bob's Burgers and stuff, but he was working on that Wolf show for a while, or that Fox show. Really talented dude. But yeah, no, he would disappear and they would just sleep in the studio, like literally. Like, okay.
I think going to school for animation, I realized like kind of quick that like I love the production side of animation. Like I love like the character design, the storyboarding, the prop design, and the actual animating itself was like, it's so tedious. And I respect it so much, and it's really fun. But I'm like, oh man, it's like, it's hard. It's really hard to do.
And also, Voodoo, you caught Roscoe while he was meowing before I was able to mute it. So sorry about that. But he wanted to add his own opinions about the animation industry while we were talking about it. Speaking of the animation industry and inspiration and kind of where you have garnered things that you're passionate about, we like to go in and have some art talk about different artists that are important to you. So let's check that out real quick. So you helped me out a lot. You sent me over a handful of artists actually, and I went through and I was able to kind of pull out a few of their works from online. The first one, obviously, with you working for Disney now, is a really good one. Is do you know how to pronounce it? Is it Oob?
It's Ub.
Ub.
I used
Okay.
to say Ub too. Yeah. Yeah, it's a
But
really hard
Ub Iwerks, which is I don't even know. Is that like French? I guess I don't.
I actually
I
have
don't
no
even know.
idea. I feel like I should know that since I put him on here, but
No, you don't have to know everything about him. It's great. We have examples of his work and stuff.
cool.
Lived until he was 70, so I'm happy with that. That's a good number.
That's
I mean,
good,
I could do past 70, but 70, I'm still like, okay, cool. We're not halfway through yet.
Yeah. No, I love how Iwerks, and his work is like, I mean, he's basically like the co-creator of Mickey Mouse. Like
Mhm.
he's the one that animated basically the whole first Mickey Mouse short, which was Plain Crazy. Even though
Which is
like,
great because you don't really hear his name much. And when I was doing the
but-
research to pull him up, they were like, yeah, co-creator of Mickey Mouse, and it's like doesn't get that a lot.
right. I think that's kind of a newer thing where people have kind of gone back and they're like, yeah, he did basically like he laid the foundation, I think, for Mickey Mouse. Like, and then like Disney obviously took it and ran with it, turned it its own thing. But when they lost the rights to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, they like went back, and then the first like Mickey Mouse cartoon that released was Steamboat Willie, but the first one that was made was Plain Crazy. And then I guess there's like a legend that like Iwerks locked himself in a room and animated like the whole thing in secret, because the other people will still have to finish out their contract on Oswald. So I don't know. I think there's someone says he owns the record for like most frames of animation drawn in a day.
Really?
Yeah. So he's just like incredible, and I think a lot of the work that like when we think of like 1920s, 1930s cartoons are really inspired by like him and like the Fleischers and stuff. But it's like how loose his work is, but also like it's tied down, it's tight, it's really fun, it's whimsical. I don't know, it's really neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's intricate. I mean, the idea of animating skeletons is oh man, that's a tedious task at hand. And that piece actually, I believe, is within public domain because of like where it lands, and they didn't like renew the rights or whatever. So you can actually look it up and watch it on YouTube. You can repurpose it for stuff. I've repurposed it for my own streams, like around Halloween before.
Oh, cool.
But it's very cool. Obviously, it's no computers back then, so it was all done by hand, which is just wild.
Wow, yeah.
but
Especially when you like, I think in that they like turn around, don't they? Like because they're kind of like floating like this.
Oh yeah, they're doing everything. They're
Yeah.
running. They're spinning. They're like dancing, moving up and down. It's really fascinating to watch. So if you guys have not, make sure you check it out.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Bob Flynn. This is the picture that he chose of himself on his website. So that's what I went with.
Yeah.
I don't know why he has a little bit of white in his mustache, but that must just be kind of.
He does have like a little like white patch.
He's got a little patch.
Yeah. That's
cute. And his stuff is beautiful.
Dude,
I'll let you talk to it, but I actually had already followed him when you sent him over, and I was like, oh, cool, I know this guy.
Yeah. So I did an internship in Boston it's called Fable Vision Studios.
Okay.
And I found it specifically because that's where he worked, and I have some family in Boston, so I was like, well, I could live in Boston, and I could learn from Bob. And yeah, his work it's incredible. The way he plays with color, the way his work is like, it's super loose, it's really cartoony, but it's really refined at the same time. Also, the way he like stylizes like existing characters, like you see Over the Garden Wall there, which is my favorite animated anything of all time.
Also, good spooky vibes too. I feel
Yeah,
like you have a lot of
yeah.
appreciation for Halloween, and Halloween's one of my favorites.
Definitely.
So it's good to see. But Over the Garden Wall is phenomenal. Voice acting, illustration wise, scene design, character design, storytelling. It's such a great production.
Definitely. Yeah, that's like one of those things that came out that was like, this is like everything I ever wanted to make in animation, but like 10 times better than I could have ever thought of. You know what I mean? Like it was. I
It
don't
also
know.
makes me happy that it's a mini series and they didn't kill it. Like they just
Definitely.
said, "This is the beginning, this is the end, this is the story. We're good to go."
They had a story they wanted to tell it, and that was it, which is really cool. I know they do some comics that kind of continue like their story within.
But that feels less exploitative as to like when they just make a show go on forever because it's making money.
Totally.
But I like how you were mentioning color. I think it's the one like in a few slides after this. There's some really beautiful stuff. Just kind of like, I don't know, showing how color tells a story. I like this House of Monsters on the right, specifically this dude.
Just the things he does they're so neat. Like the way he plays with shape is so interesting to me. Like it just feels like so loose, and it reminds me of like why I like cartoons, which is really cool. He's also a really good follow on Twitter because sometimes he'll go into like
actually that's why I think I found him originally. Is he'll break stuff down. I'll have to see if I can get a thread and maybe I can put it in the chat or something. But he's really smart. That's the other thing.
This one's my favorite. Like it's so cool. Just like all the little characters going on in there, and like there's all these different stories being told within like one picture. Like everything's happening right there, and then there's like little ants carrying stuff away, which is like its own story. There's the they got the boombox and people dancing in front of it. There's a whole picnic going on to the left. Like it's just his work is incredible. It's like he's definitely like one of my favorite artists right now for sure.
It's also interesting because it kind of reminds me of Richard Scarry in a strange way, and it might just because of the busyness. But I think that it's successful and like it still feels like his own, but it also feels like it references other stuff.
Definitely.
What else do I have from him? These weird scary doodles, which I always love, but is also great.
It feels a little like Adventure Timey a little bit, like because sometimes in Adventure Time they'd go kind of scary, but I don't know. It's also like the one on the left is just with like markers, which is really cool. And for a while he was just doing work with like markers, and then he moved on to like clay, and like so he plays with different mediums, which is really fun.
Yeah, he has a whole thing on his website that have all his different claymations. I don't think I pulled them, but it's also kind of cool to see, similar to you, that transition from 2D to 3D in a very literal and not digital sense, like just straight up, like pulling clay out and working with it. The eye here is terrifying, but I love it. It's my favorite. I don't like the mouth.
He adds a little smile into it.
Yeah, I hate the little smile. I hate it.
You don't like the little eye fold?
Yeah, no, it's there's so much. That's scary eyelashes that are just like the hair. Feels like real monsters.
Yeah, definitely.
But then the tongue is also great with the puddle underneath of it that's so subtle and like practically invisible. And then you have these scary dudes on the bottom that are just a completely different feel.
Also, like he has so much range within, like and still keeping it looking cartoony.
Yeah.
Like sometimes like people can have range that are like they can do like more realistic looking drawings just a cartoon, but I feel like he's like found like this nice like puddle of like not puddle like ocean of different cartoon styles that still feel like cartoony and fun and whimsical.
Rick says the one on the lower right looks a little bit like Squidward, which now that you say it, I can see it. Like a very upset Squidward.
The long nose and like the little the frown hidden beneath the eyes. Speaking of,
and finally, of course, I had to include some of his SpongeBob love. Obviously, SpongeBob is such an iconic character, and it's so weird that SpongeBob is so successful because SpongeBob, especially the original ones, are so ugly. Like the character design of original SpongeBob is hard to draw and not great looking, but there's been this way of being able to like add flair and style to it, and it's
Mhm.
cool to see his approach also to such an iconic character,
Yeah.
and push those boundaries.
Well, I think a really cool thing when it comes to like stylizing a character is the initial character design is good when you can like stylize it and everyone still knows
Right.
what that character is. It's like he has those iconic things like the yellow square and the square pants, and that his like irises are blue, and the way
Yeah.
he like plays off of that is really cool. And I remember actually like as a kid reading some of his SpongeBob comics because they were in Nickelodeon magazine. Remember those?
Yep.
And I remember
We're on a
like,
mission to get Nickelodeon magazine to your door.
oh yeah, dude, yeah. Oh man, I remember like the first time I got it, it was like, this is incredible. Like this is the one from TV. It was like that in like Zoo Books, or like
Zoobugs.
yeah.
Oh man, classic things that I wanted to steal my mother's credit card for, but
Oh,
never ordered from the blue screens.
What was the like? Get your parents' permission before. Like,
Yeah, but or before going online, you're like, okay.
Oh yeah, when that started.
Yep. Beauty Val says, Aura Monsters is one of my favorites. I used to wish I could just flush myself to the junkyard and hang out. My grandmother was horrified when I told her.
That's amazing. No, Auto Monsters was like one of my favorites, but also like it's not something I appreciated till later because I was a scaredy cat. And
Yeah, I
was,
wasn't
like,
allowed to watch it because my mom was convinced I was going to be scared by it.
That was me with Beavis and Butthead. For some reason, the designs freaked me out because they
Yeah,
had. Like,
I mean, there was a lot that you wouldn't want to watch a kid having Beavis and Butthead
That's
for.
very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
okay, so next up, we have another great artist. Her name is Jess Marfisi, and she's a Pittsburgh-based illustrator. And she's still very much alive.
oh yeah.
As opposed to at the very beginning. I think Bob's also still alive, obviously, if he has an active Twitter. But I don't know. Jess in particular, I'll let you talk to her because I know it's your call out. But her color in particular, when I was pulling pictures, I was gobsmacked. I was really excited about these. I mean, look at this very first one.
Dude,
it's nuts.
Like, I worked with Jess on the Fungies, and that's how I met her.
Oh, really? So you like personally know her? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's so she we co-character designed on the show. So we both did like some character design and some props and effects. And I had seen her work like before, and then I like walked in the first day. I was like, "Oh my god, that's Jess Marfisi!" Like her art is so cool. But yeah, just like if we want to talk about like range, like Jess has so much range. Like she can play with like it being cartoony and like whimsical and like squishy and like the Fungies characters, and then she can also like. I like when kind of like Over the Garden Wall where you can have these cartoony characters but put them in like kind of creepy looking settings, like which is how it's happening here. Like it's and the way she plays with color is like it's so cool.
I mean, there's a lot to be scared of in this one. I mean, the color is obviously already telling a story, but also the distortion of the lines in the background of the wood paneling. It kind of like feels like almost like an acid trip, or like kind of like the Van Gogh self-portrait when he has with all the lines. But then if you also look out the window, you also see that it's a bunch of hands, like ghostly hands. As like I loved the character design in Soul of the ephemeral like god characers that were based off of wire.
They called Jerry's or something like that.
Things. Yeah, the Jerry's. That's what they are, the Jerry's.
Yeah.
And the hands here with their see-throughness is like giving the same idea, but I feel uneasy. I don't like anything that's happening here. It feels like a dangerous setting. When I say I don't like what's happening here, I love it. I'm just saying I'm uneasy.
Speaking on Soul, I thought one thing that was really cool with that, because I know we were talking about like making something look hyper real, like in 3D, and then, but I think that one it worked so well because you had like two different dimensions. Like you had like the afterlife, where it was like this more like everything, like you said, had kind of like that, like the Picasso kind of like just one line like for the nose kind of thing, and then having like these squishy little characters that were like your soul, but then
had to interact with them together in the same space.
Yeah, and then having them like go to the actual like the living world where everything looks real. And I think that's like when you can play with a medium like that, like that's so exciting to me.
And you really give the flexibility to be able to solve solutions visually before even having any of the characters talk. Like just looking at them, you can tell that they're three different beings, which is, you know, a hard thing to do, but when you can pull it off, it's great.
Definitely.
Also from her, I mean, it's crazy this is the same artist. This is still
Exactly.
Jess.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, her range is remarkable. And similar, we were just having Michelle on, we're talking about photography, and I feel like a lot of this can also play through to that as well with composition, but it's so zoomed out. And actually, when I was putting these together, I'm noticing it now live, is I didn't realize there was this brooding, looming figure here in the bottom left of this
Dude, it's
piece.
so cool. I might be wrong, but I think this is part of like she's doing a series where it's supposed to be kind of like playing off of like the mundaneness of like suburbia. But there's like something kind of hidden underneath kind of thing, like
Something
kind of making
wrong.
it kind of creepy. I mean, I think she's spoken on it before, so I would look up and follow her on like Twitter and Instagram and stuff. But yeah, it's like she's really, really talented. Like that's some really cool stuff. Like you said, with composition and color and everything, it's really neat.
Because even without the brooding, scary figure underneath the bleachers, like it's still such a beautiful piece.
Yeah.
You know, you even have like the jet stream of an airplane in the sky, you know, kind of making your eyes go along with the bleachers, and everything's going to the right. And that's kind of why I didn't even notice the thing in the bottom left at first, but that like all plays towards the same. Everything feels just so intentional.
Yes.
Even though it's like quote unquote boring.
Right.
And it's just really well made. Another one, I love what she does with blues and oranges.
Yeah, man. It's so cool.
Same sort of thing as that first one we were looking at. This one feels a lot happier, but
yeah, this one doesn't look as menacing.
Yeah, right. I'm not scared for the characters in these, but just really, really successful color.
Yeah.
And then some character design, which I mean, I guess that's something that you guys kind of have your bond over and work together with.
I mean, because I know Jess has worked as a character designer, a prop designer, and like a color designer. Mm-hmm. And I think she's done, I might be wrong, but I think she's done a little background design as well. So like she can do it all. Like I want her to art direct or show run a show so bad.
Oh man, I would watch the crap out of that.
yeah, definitely.
What I like about this one is on the left, it kind of almost feels like Dexter's Lab's mom.
Yeah.
But the softness of a lot of the other shows that I really like. And then also I know that these final pieces would probably be colored differently, but the way that she uses color to just accent and distribute weight with the orange, I think is a really cool and hard thing to do, but I think it works really effectively.
Definitely.
Oh, another cool one that she had on her Twitter that I snagged with some ghosts. This one didn't feel scary. This one just felt cool.
Yeah, I just love this one. This is fun, you
know. And then just having that starry sky, not only at the top, but also on the bottom, kind of gives you an idea of like, where are they? Almost Danny Phantom vibes.
Yeah.
But just, seriously well made.
Yeah. The way she can like contrast and like use like complementary colors. It's
I wanted to include this because I know you had also done some boarding as well on some of your sites. And I thought that these were cool. Kind of like a similar, and I also thought they were hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I think this shows a good example of like sometimes I don't know if Unikitty was a board driven show, but like the one on the left is like sometimes what we get as a character designer, and it's already like so well drawn,
right?
That your job as a designer now is just to go in and like keep the spirit and the like the looseness and like funness of the pose that the board artist is doing, but making sure it's like tight enough and like on model, which is like really fun, and she does a great job with this here.
And I think that also that plays to what you were talking about with SpongeBob earlier, with the idea of like a very good character design is like you'll be able to take it and still make it recognizable by stripping it down a little bit. And that process of taking something and being like, okay, cool, this is the feel that we want. We got to make sure that it stays to model and that it fits the feel.
Yeah, totally.
And it's cool to see that process, because as somebody who is not in the industry and just looks at the final product, it's really cool to see how that process gets from, you know, the books to the screen. And obviously a lot of different people touch it and a lot of choices are made. But when everyone works together, it feels like it's all one person, even though it's definitely not all one person.
No, for sure. I think that's a big thing with animation too, is like learning to draw in different styles and stuff. So when you are working on the show, like your thing doesn't look blatantly different than the rest. Like
Right.
it doesn't look like your version of SpongeBob. It looks like SpongeBob. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I think is like, because when you're done, you want it to think like oh, Iwerks did, just like one person did it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good note.
Which would be insane if that was ever the case.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
This gave me vibes of like Recess vibes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Growing
Yeah.
up, and I loved
Definitely.
Recess.
Me too.
I would not mind a reboot of that show. I feel like you could easily add some more fun to that. I mean, that's yeah, I don't know, big fan.
Yeah, no, I love Recess.
And
these
then
were
also
some props from the Fungies. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, so I think that was everyone that you had sent over for the segment that we had for checking out what inspires you. So I wanted to kind of hop over next. Well, actually, before we do that, we are about an hour and a half in, and I realized we haven't done monkey paws. So let's do some monkey paws. So you can either take this time to join us in the exercise, or you can also take a break, since I have been talking your ear off for an hour and a half. Up to you. But basically, I'm sure, as you know, as someone who has slaved the midnight oil several times, that your hands are something that can get very tired and very damaged if you don't take care of them. We do monkey paws as a means, as taught from Anna David Course Stream, who she's an illustrator that's also here on Behance. Make sure you check her out. And they're just exercise that you can do throughout the day to make sure that you're properly stretching your wrist muscles and your hand muscles and making everything work. So I'll just walk you through it real quick. You're going to take both your hands, you're going to put them out forward like this, and then you're going to bring them in with monkey paws. Ooh, ah.
Ooh, ah.
Yeah, see, the noises are very important. It doesn't work if you don't do it.
Exactly.
You can release that. You're going to go down like this. You're going to bring it in. And ooh, ah, ah. I can normally feel this one in my wrist a little bit. Yeah, see, if it hurts at all, make sure you don't do it. You don't, I'm not a medical professional. Don't want anyone to hurt themselves. Release that. You flip your hands over. Gotta give them away.
Oh, see, that's the one.
Oh, you ready for it? You're still gonna bring it in still.
Oh, dude. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
My least favorite one, but the one that works, and I need to do it more often because it hurts, is then you flip them towards yourself.
Oh, okay.
And then you bring it in. And
that's
the one. Yeah.
That's it right there.
So if you have to pulse it, you do it. It helps as well.
Okay.
But you just shake it up. Normally also a great time to drink some water if you've only been drinking coffee. Move your neck around a little bit. Make it so you're not all just hunched over. And then we'll just do it again one more cycle through. You go forward, bring it on in, release, down. Ooh, oh god. I still need to make like a compilation of all the faces I make whenever I do this. I try to hold it together, but it's like
no, there's some tightness for sure.
And bring it in, and then one more, like that. So
yeah.
Have you ever struggled with carpal tunnel or anything before?
No, not so much my maybe my wrist a little bit, but I think for me it's mostly like because I'm hunched over all day on the Cintiq. It's usually like my shoulder and my back are kind of the ones that like give me the most issues, I think.
Yeah.
But
I had back when I worked at an agency, I had a freelancer come in. He was a great motion designer that really helped me in a tight spot. But he was my age. It was back when I was like 24 or something like that. But he came in with like a back heating pad with like heating things for both of his wrists and like this seat cushion. And I'm like, dude, you're 24. Like you should not be here yet.
That's
That said, I wanted to borrow all of his equipment, but he was too busy because he was too achy.
I think having the right setup is like super important, especially if it's something you're gonna be doing like
day in, day out.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours in a day. Like, I think having that, like, the right setup is super important. And like, I know even for me, I moved my Cintiq during this move, and like I had it in a different spot, and it like I had to move everything again because like my shoulder was like not used to going that spot.
Yes.
I feel like now like it was so used to being like clicked into place at one spot, and now it's like no, not here. We got to go back to.
That's not where the muscle is. This is
Yeah.
we haven't built up years of resistance for this.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
You know, it's amazing how much like a small change of just like a few like inches in height or something that can make just such a monumental difference. And I'm still always trying to figure out my workspace to the best ability. I have my Cintiq that I use as mostly a monitor right here, and then I have like a vertical monitor over here. And I think this is like the happiest I've been with the setup in a long time. But yeah, always gotta check those out. We have a really great question in the chat for you though before we move on to from this to that, and it's from Fad Reza. They say, why does my character art feel so stiff? It makes me so angry. Can you suggest to me how to make a good flow in character art?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think for me, I think when you like you look at the pose that you've done, it's also it helped to like look at it myself too. But like, kind of going through, and sometimes I'll do like a silhouette of it to kind of see like one in good character design. It's good to have like a nice silhouette of a character, but then kind of seeing like what parts look stiff just like in the outline, and then I like to, when I'm done with something, go back over it and draw it again, which is something we're probably going to show here in a second when with the what's it called? What's the next segment called?
This to that.
This to that, yeah. Where I like I'll go back over and redraw things multiple times and make sure like what part is looking like a little bit weird. Does it kind of look like I put just pieces together instead of letting the character become like this volumetric like thing that you could take out of the computer and like hold. I know one exercise we used to do in college to keep loose was you would just draw like just like a line or like just like a weird like shape, and then you use that shape and turn it into a character. And that kind of helps take some of like the I don't know, not precaution, but like the
intimidation kind of.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So then you can kind of just have fun with it and feel free with it. And I think for me, when I draw, it's mostly about like how loose can I get in the beginning stages, and then worry about tightening it up like later, you know? So just getting something down on the computer, on the Cintiq, and then going in and then crisping it up from there. But I think it's hard to, if you start off super crisp with the drawing and then try to loosen it up. But,
yeah, I think also knowing your crushes, I think, is another big one. Like I know you were even saying like you're like, oh yeah, like I still tend to like hide my hands or something.
Yeah.
Or if you have people that are constantly doing the same pose, I'd say use yourself as a reference. Just sitting down and drawing is difficult if you don't necessarily have any sort of like actual reference to go off of, especially if they're feeling stiff. I think you bringing up silhouettes is a really good point. I think it's something that in that character design class that I did that they really harped on, and the idea of kind of similar to the line, just throwing down a bunch of shapes, filling them in, and then being like, okay, this has to be a character. And you can add on to that silhouette to then help it improve that vibe, but it's still anything to get you out of that rut of just like your brain wants to make the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Which I think every artist falls into that part specifically. Is like I was looking through some of my stuff before this, and I was like, I draw the same pose for like a lot of stuff, which it's nice to like, and not like you said, look at your crutches and be like, this is something I do too much, you know. But
yeah, I remember, I think junior year of college, it was for midterms. We had to go and we had to hang up all of our work on the wall. And when I did it, I just realized that every single composition I had like 2 characters in like similar kind of compositions, and it was like really important because there's no other time where you really take your work. I mean, you have Instagram that puts it in a grid or something, but like taking work that you actually are passionate about, just putting it together and being like, okay, what is the what is the through line? What do I lean on too much? What is like a something that, you know, is important that I don't realize is important, or, you know, what is a weakness that I'm kind of not acknowledging? I think those are cool.
Definitely.
To at least seeing yourself.
I think overall though, like a big thing is just draw a lot, you know, just like
that's what they always say.
Yeah, and it gets so frustrating hearing that all the time. Like,
but it's true.
Like, when you're learning, but it's true. Like getting that like the whole like 10,000 hours thing in, like I said, like for me, like I don't really carry a sketchbook, but I'll draw on anything, just like paper towels, like napkins. I don't draw on like things I'm not supposed to, so I don't draw on like tables and stuff, but I do sometimes. But like just like drawing, like if anytime you like get an idea or anytime you like have that like spark of inspiration or whatever, you know, just keep practicing at it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a thing. It's like I need to practice what I preach. I like I said, I have a passion for cartooning, but I've never really gone down it too much in the sense of like seriously pursuing it, because it's like it's just the amount that you have to draw in order to get a comfort and a confidence in drawing anything is it's quite the undertaking. So I've been very
good, man. I've looked at them; they're really good.
Not like this. I mean, these are remarkable. I'm just like scrolling down as we like continue to talk, and I realized that we didn't talk about one of these really cool ones that you have that almost kind of looks like a Riso print, because you offset the color a little bit. With this like displacement, and it feels like a vintage cartoon. This horse is hilarious.
Oh, thanks. I basically just redrew that for the sketch thing we're doing right now, where I'm just like doodling. But yeah, that one's really fun. I had a fun time on that.
And I also really like your approach to guns too, because the guns are very comic-y. They don't like actually have a feeling of threat or danger. Like they just feel like a cartoon gun. I noticed it also in the one that you had with your sketches for over here. Oh, well, you do have the guy right there too.
Oh yeah, no, it's basically the exact same shape.
But the gun feels very Looney Tunes. It feels very like Marvin the Martian in a way that it's like, okay, cool, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but it's also, you know, it doesn't look like a you know, semi-automatic rifle or whatever. So it
always feel weird.
It doesn't take away from it.
I always feel weird drawing them in the first place. So when I do, I'm like, I want it to be like you couldn't take this out of the cartoon and you know what I mean? Like it's like,
which is tough. How did you necessarily get the mechanics down of stuff? Like if you have a hard time drawing something, do you draw it realistically several times and then try to abstract it, or do you always kind of start with the abstraction?
So one thing I do a lot, and I would say this is something that like if you do this, like you don't post it anywhere. It's like I would take like stills and stuff from like Looney Tunes and stuff, and I would trace them, you know, and I would like get down the fundamentals of like, oh, this is what they did here and this is what they did here, and you like learn as you're doing it. And obviously you don't put that anywhere because it's not
your work, but it's you know,
it's a good
practice. Like a drill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's something that really helped me when it came to like drawing things I struggle with. Like I'm really bad at drawing like cars. Like cars are super hard for me, and like so I what?
I mean, what? This is beautiful. Dude, this truck is fantastic.
But it was super hard. Like that was if you look, that's like the only one I have because like
it's great though. It feels solid. I feel like it could drive off of the screen without like falling apart or like wobbling away.
But like, but even looking at it now, I'm like, oh, the wheels are weird, and like, there's just like little things from like, I don't know. Yeah, there's some things in there where I would change.
Okay.
But
it looks great though. Also, I like the face of the eggplant. Thank you for still seeing true with its origins.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I think a big thing with things you're uncomfortable drawing, and like you struggle with is like, actually one thing I do a lot when it comes to like learning to like cartoonify something is like I'll take like an actual picture of like just a truck, and then I'll go in and start transforming different parts of it.
Right.
So like I'll squish like the whole thing, and then like I'll like make the, you know, what's the, I'm bad with cars. What's the thing that's like the
Muffler, the
the
pipe,
the thing like you sit in like with the windshield and like the main part of like the truck that like the person's in.
oh, like just like the cabin or whatever.
Yeah, cabin. That's the word.
I don't even know if cabin is the proper term, but
yeah. But like I like I'll like make that longer, and like I'll make the wheels really big, and like I'll basically like cartoonify the real picture, and then I'll go in and like I'll try to like replicate that, you know, in like my own drawing or something. But
right.
Also, if
just
you want
to kind of like baby step your way into like a cartoony vibe of it.
Definitely, yeah. And I think a good person, if you want to look at like car references, Akira Toriyama draws some like incredible cars. That's like the creator of Dragon Ball. If you look at like some of his like early
which
work,
is unexpected with Dragon Ball and cars, like that's so.
Yeah, his early work before like Dragon Ball Z and stuff, where like everyone gets like super ripped, is it's really charming. Like Dragon Ball art is like it's incredible. Yeah, and the way he draws cars are like he kind of does this thing where he squashes them, makes them real cute, but there's so many little intricate details going on in there. So yeah, if you want to look up car reference, he's a really fun.
Oh, good to know.
Designer to look at.
All right, so with that, I think we should hop on into From This to That then.
Oh, cool.
From this to that.
So, oh, that's the wrong one. Here we go. We have this. So you have these two different pieces of Clue that you have then drawn and redrawn. When was the first one and when was the second one?
So I think this was like maybe a year difference.
Okay.
And I did the time is so weird now, but I think the Clue one is from 2021.
Okay.
The second one, and then the first one was from like either I think 2019, end of 2019.
So pre and post pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I changed. I had to reevaluate all of my drawings.
They all seem a little bit more isolated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I really like to go back and look at some of my old work and see like where I've changed and the things I've kept. I think it kind of helps you see like, oh, these are some of the things I'm doing right. These are some things I should like change. And I think it's also good, like mentally sometimes, to like go back and be like, oh, I am progressing as an artist. I am making these like different changes and stuff. And I think, like I said, like I kept a lot on both of these, but I've made like little changes that at least I notice. And it makes me feel like, I feel like most people look, I'm like, you didn't change anything. That looks exactly the same. But there's
no,
like,
I mean, I had a few that I wanted to call out. I mean, cool. Definitely Colonel Mustard, who I always play as if I play Clue. He got a lot angrier, so he's a little bit more of a suspect between the older version and the newer version.
Exactly, yeah. And I think a big thing with this one for me was I was looking at it and like I love Clue and it's like one of my favorite games and stuff. And I was like, well, I really had fun doing this and I want to kind of go back in and like play with it a little bit more. And I was looking at it and I felt kind of like I was like putting pieces together rather than like making like a volumetric character
being.
And even then it still is very flat and very stylized, but I think going in and like kind of piecing it together in a different way than I did before was really fun. And kind of my style might have changed a little bit here and there. Like I drew the eyes a little bit different and the
giving me some Schoolhouse Rock vibes, which I love.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I was going for sure. Yeah, I love Schoolhouse Rock.
But you also can see that you have become more bulbous in the newer version. Between like the boots are rounded off, you know, you also rounded off kind of like where he tucks in his shirt. The dressings of the shoulder pads are a lot bigger and have a lot more volume to them. He feels more approachable, even though he looks angrier.
Yeah. I think making it just look cuter. Like I love making cartoon like cute designs, you know.
Yeah.
So I think for this it was a matter of like I said, like I had fun doing it, and I had some time to like, go back in and just kind of playing with it a little bit more and like tweaking it. Because sometimes I'll draw something and it'll be finished, and I'll be like, okay, I never want to see it again. I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm just
it has happened.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I get that moment to like look back at something, oh, actually that's not bad, but I would change this and I would change that, and then I'm like, oh wait, I could just do that. I could just change it, you know.
I will say, as far as making things cuter, though, you really did Miss Peacock and Miss White dirty.
Yeah.
You took away Miss Peacock's makeover. You took her makeup off.
Yeah.
You got rid of the rosy cheeks.
Yeah, that one was really fun. This was like my favorite one, I think. Yeah, and like playing with like the little peacock feather, making it a little more simplified, and like making
changes to the hair as well.
Yeah, just doing like little tiny things. I think it's what I had fun with on this, and then I also like added some more characters too in the new one.
I can switch back to it real quick.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah. Like
so
I added
you have
some from the expansion game. I guess there's like a expansion pack.
It makes me happy that you added Mr. Body.
Yeah. It was between that and there's another one from the expansion pack, but I was like, I want to draw a dead person. Like that'd be fun.
But like a dead person almost in a comedic way that like you still feel like almost you could play him almost. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Or like I when I was drawing this, I imagined them as like the cards, and then so like Mr. Body is just like the card and like laid in one room. Which is really kind of fun.
I can never play with my sister though, because she has some like method down where she can beat me in like 3 or 4 turns, and she's had it since we were like 12, and I'm like, I don't know what you do, but I can't play with you anymore.
That's so funny. Like my wife is the exact same way, and I beat her one time during the pandemic, and I was like, I think we're done. I don't want to play anymore. Like, I don't think I'll ever win again.
I also really like your approach to all the weapons, similar to what we were talking about with guns and stuff. I think that even though they're all very threatening things, they're all like the cutest murder weapons in the world. I'm trying to think of like even that candlestick that you have in both iterations is really great. And then I said that you were saying that you did Miss White pretty dirty because like something's going on with her eye now that she just previously kind of had under wraps and not
like
anymore.
Twitching a little bit, She's seen too much,
Yeah.
She's under a lot of stress now.
And the simplification of, I think the duster is really strong. If I were to look at the original one, I wouldn't think that you would need to improve it. But then once you improve it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
I think that's the thing that like I catch myself doing a lot where I'm like, oh, there's thunder outside. I catch myself doing a lot where I'm like, oh yeah, the original, like it's fine, like it's okay, and then I look at it for too long, and I'm like, oh no, I want to change. Like even after like I post something, I'm like, oh, I want to change it. Like there's already things looking at this again where I'm like, I would fix a couple of different things, but.
Well, it's been what? It's been another like year and a half, right? So about a half year, you can do it again.
Yeah, so I just do every year and a half or something.
I mean, it would be sick to have your own version of the game at some point. In college, I keep talking about college, but in college, I actually redid the entire set of Guess Who as like an experiment, and that was really fun.
Dude, that's such a fun idea.
And I had like added like political commentary to it when I did it, but I almost kind of just want to go in and just it'd be cool as like a wedding gift if you did it with all your friends,
Dude,
or
that's a really fun idea.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's just board games are so universal language that we all have these relationships to them, but it's really cool to see you go in and create these cartoon versions. It's just really neat.
Oh, thanks,
and then you sent me over one other thing, which I thought was great. And it's another piece that you kind of reimagined. And this was for kind of like a show pitch that you were working on, right?
Yeah, so when I was interning at Disney TV, they do like a big thing at the end with all the interns where you get to like come up with a pitch and you pitch it to executives, and it's more just like a training exercise, kind of be like get used to like getting up and talking in front of people and like pitching something and doing all that. But we had it was me and then I think two other artists and then an editor and then we had someone who was there and doing like our casting. Um, it was really fun. It was a really fun experience and stuff. But we came up with this pitch that was like about like these sailors and stuff. Back to the whole like flapjack thing. Um, but yeah, I think looking at this, it was like this was like I think a 2 year difference, 3 year difference. Where I think I don't usually redo something unless either I absolutely hate it or I absolutely love it. And I think both these are ones that like I love drawing and I had a really good time with. I look back at it and I'm like, this is really fun. I want to redraw it again. And
Would you ever consider, like, since it's not necessarily a TV show, would you ever consider like turning it into maybe like a web comic or some sort of like online presence?
Yeah, so actually, I was thinking maybe not for this because it's something like I made with a couple other people, so it's not necessarily like my thing. Um, which is one of my favorite things about it is it's not just like my thing; it's like a team thing, like I was saying earlier. But I actually have been thinking about because I've been drawing these cowboys, of like doing like a little comic strip, like doing like a weekly little strip for fun. Um, and I know like originally that's what I wanted to do was like comic strips. Like and then I met a someone who does like comics for like our local paper and he was saying something about like what did he say? It was like, oh don't do comics. And I was like, oh why? And he's like, oh the newspaper industry's dying. You should pivot, do something else.
Well, I
And
mean, which is
so
a shame. I mean, I see where they're coming from, but at the same time, there also is this whole resurgence and change
exactly.
of web comics and what they mean, and also new mediums for it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's TV shows being made off of shows that are on webtoons. And yeah, I mean, it can be more of a hustle. I mean, if you're syndicated in a newspaper, like, you know, you can then go get your mansion. You might not get that necessarily, but it is cool to see these subcultures kind of pop up with Patreons and different online communities surrounded by comics that people really tie themselves to.
Yeah.
And also, I love this whole small press expo whenever those like come through. Those are really cool.
Dude, definitely, yeah. I love those. Those are so cool. Like I think to his credit, I think it was like it was before like a lot of like the web comic industry kind of like popped, you know.
Right.
But like yeah, I think it's something that's so cool and like something I want to start doing again just for fun and like just doing like not even like a big storyline or anything, just like a stupid little gag like here and there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a sucker for the web comic gags. I did want to call out one of the updates that you did make for between these two. So I guess the first one on the left is tied with your coworkers is kind of creating together, but on the right was just ones that you had then reimagined from something that you've already created, right?
Yeah, so I did all the character designs for the pitch.
Oh,
and
okay.
we had someone that did like the storyboarding, and then someone that so we kind of all took different steps in like the pipeline.
Right.
And we had someone who like was an editing intern who like edited the animatic for us and stuff. So
Okay.
all the character designs were the ones I came up with. But yeah, it was really fun. Our favorite was the half fish, half man.
But with the fish top.
Yeah. But we gave him like I thought in the beginning we were gonna give him like flames on his like on his swim trunks. And I think I kind of did, but not. It doesn't look that great. Like this is one that I would go back in again and like do a couple different things for sure.
There was there's another streamer also on Behance, and she also has a really great YouTube. I mean, that's what I think she's particularly known for. But she had a thing where she went and she had like a flip of a coin and an animal, and so she was like, oh, is it going to be a mermaid, or is it going to be like the fish top or the fish bottom for each animal that she went through? And I'll see if I can grab the link to it, but
Oh, that's
it's
awesome.
really great. The one that I really wanted to call out though from this experience was this guy.
Oh, yeah.
You got rid of his glass eye. You made him a little bit more approachable.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
once again, I really like all the props you have and the character that you have. I like that there's a leaf coming out of his peg leg.
yeah.
You know, it's important.
It was fun. Kind of going back to this again to like I said, kind of like see, you know, where I've grown, if any, and things like that. But it was also fun, like playing with the story a little bit again. Like he's like an old sea captain kind of guy. I
Right.
was like, oh, maybe his staff would be made out of like driftwood, so I changed like the color of the wood. But then that also doesn't make any sense because he has, you know, a peg leg with a leaf on it. But just like little things like that where it's like going back.
No, it's fun. I mean, I'm all for it. By the way, I found the link for you guys if you want to check it out. It's for Casey the Golden. If you guys have ever seen her live here on Behance, she's super talented. And yeah, it looks like we're getting at the top of our hour, so we almost are out of time. But I do want to show this real quick, and also just show it to you because she's fantastic. She has
that's so much fun.
So she has like the one where she has the horse. What else she has? What is this? It's like a bird, I think, that then has it because she was missing out for a while where she kept getting it on the bottom, and then so she finally got one. I think this is a dog. And
that's amazing. It's kind of like cat dog a little bit, like.
Yeah, I mean,
like a catfish.
Yeah, it's like a catfish, and this is like a bunny fish. And yeah, you can watch this whole thing. I mean, it's 20 minutes long, but she has some hilarious commentary through it, and obviously it gets a little dark with the crazy goat at the end.
That's so much fun.
But make sure you guys check her stuff out. She's Casey Golden on YouTube, and she's also Casey the Golden here on Behance. And she's got some really fun stuff. But yeah, I think that kind of puts us at the top of the hour for you and for me. Was there anything else you wanted to kind of discuss in the last like 5 minutes or so before we say goodbye?
No, I mean, I really appreciate you having me on, and like I hope I didn't ramble too much and I made.
No, I had a blast. I got to talk about cartoons for 2 hours.
Cool.
Like this is the dream,
Yeah, I hope I said something that was like coherently, put together, like helpful for anybody or whatever. But yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, you kidding? I mean, there was so much that we went through. I mean, especially talking about like the stiffness of characters, I thought was really good. I really liked seeing your process with how you jump around the canvas and using Photoshop as like with one layer versus different layers. I learned a lot. Had a good time. What can we expect to see from you next? I know that you said you are now doing some toy stuff. Obviously, you're under Disney's big NDA, but what, I guess, as vaguely as possible, like what can we expect to see from you next?
I mean, some different products coming through. Those won't be out for like a little bit because it's like takes a while for toys to be made and everything.
Of course.
But, right now I'm helping out with some visual development for a couple different shows, which has been really fun. So that I'm always doodling and posting it on Instagram and Twitter. So really, I don't have anything super crazy coming out, but it's just me just drawing stuff, and then like I said, I'm gonna start doing some comic strips and things like that. So that's something that would be kind of fun. But
and the comic strips are more like personal work that is coming just from things that you're passionate about, right?
Yeah. So nothing too crazy. Just me working my job and drawing fun cartoons on the side.
Yeah, I mean that's how it'll be great to have. And we can mostly catch those on your Instagram, which you have as Hi Adam Reed on Twitter, and then a Reed Cartoonist on Instagram.
Yeah.
And yeah, is it storming where you are?
Dude, yeah, I keep on trying to mute it, and
Oh,
like
you're good though. But I was just like,
it,
at first I thought it was your mic on your thing, and then I was like, no, it just sounds like it's just suddenly
no,
downpouring where
it
you
just
are.
like it came out of nowhere, and like that's Florida, man. It's so weird.
Yeah, coming from
I
California with no rain, now you
I
got to deal
know.
with the surprise downpour of Florida thunderstorms.
Yeah, I'm so used to just like when it would rain, I'd like go outside and just like look at it and be like,
Mhm.
wow, rain. And now I'm like, dude, I wish it would stop raining. Like it's so much rain. Um, but yeah, it came out of nowhere. It's really coming down, which is fun.
Well, so that's how it goes. But thank you so much for coming on the show. Really
Thanks for
appreciate you. And yeah, make sure you guys give him a follow. We'll go be sure to put his Instagram and his Twitter into the Behance chat for you guys to check out. And hopefully we'll have to check out whatever comes next with Garfield, even though you're not working with Garfield.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'll post another Garfield sometime soon for sure.
Yeah, right. I'm sure it just comes naturally. And yeah, try to bring Mr. Toad's Wild Ride back to Disney World because I got rid of it. So
Yeah, man. That's my dream.
it's the long game. That's why you're
Yeah.
down in Florida now.
Yeah, I'm hitting the streets. You know, I'm really putting in the work to try to get it
Campaigning
back.
for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Take care.
See ya.
All right, guys. And that is it for me for today. We will be back tomorrow, same 2 times for 2-hour shows again. We're going to be having Zachary Bromberg on, which I'm really excited about because we had him on last time. He's my old roommate. And we're also going to be having Ram Rees on, which will be fun to see. And we'll talk through all different types of great work, and yeah, I will take questions, interviews. We'll go through process again. We'll go through sketches. We'll go through inspiration, the whole gambit as you would expect. But make sure you tune back in, and we'll be here coming up next here on Adobe Live. Stay tuned. We still have another show coming up. So if you stick around, you'll automatically be pushed right into the XD Daily Challenge. I want to say thank you to Voodoo Val for moderating and being here for the whole show. Thank you to everybody else who came in and said hello, asked questions, had commentary. It was great to have you here. As you know, it's a live stream, so it's always helpful when we have active chat. Thank you for working and lurking if you were just there quietly watching. And thank you for watching the replay if you've been watching the replay and you are watching this long. But thank you to Abdullah, Afrija, Annika, Arshad, Clever, Sin, Emily, Fod, Gareth, Greg, Katarina, Mwenda, Oliver, Reverb, Mike, Sean, Budaval again, Wade, and Rick. As always, it's a pleasure to have you guys. Reverb Mike saying, I remember when XD meant laugh. I still read it that way. I'm still like, it's like the challenge, which it is not. But, you know, I digress. Anyway, thank you guys. I'm going to play you off with the regular thanks for watching, and then you'll be pushed right on into the challenge. Have a great day. If you are in a state that has an election today, please go vote, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye. You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Go.